Hi, Dr. Antoun. Marnie and I are really excited to have you on our show today. We just love meeting like-minded people in the health and wellness space who have dedicated their lives to help others live better and find their art of living well. And fasting and longevity and disease prevention is a topic that we've been wanting to dive into with a guest for quite some time, as we know our listeners are really interested in this conversation. So we are just so thankful and grateful that you're here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for hosting me today. And, I hope that after 40, 45 minutes, we're going to change somebody's life today. So I know we're going to share a lot of great stuff.
We
Um,
are.
yeah.
So
That's the goal.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's always the goal. And changing one person's life on this episode would be amazing, right?
Yes, and we'll do that.
So, Dr. Antoun, everyone has a story, and we would love to hear your journey about how your life's work has culminated in focusing on the health and longevity benefits of fasting, helping people age gracefully, and ultimately becoming CEO and chairman of L-Nutra.
Yeah, well, I started my life as a physician. My passion was to help patients with reaching cure, and I wanted to be a cardiologist. And then I figured out soon after that I'm mainly meeting people after they're sick. So I was practicing sick care rather than health care. And I was not getting not even a fraction of them to get to cure. I was subscribing them to 5, 6 pills every time they see me. So I see a patient with, say, post heart attack or post, whatever, cardiovascular issue, for example. And then you put them on a statin, you put them on a blood pressure medication, a blood cholesterol, and a blood thinner, and the story. And then the problem is we don't tell them when they're going to stop it, right? It's just a long-term subscription. And I used to ask my attendings, like, if the medicine works, why they have to refill it? Right. And that was a big question for me that nobody answered at that time. And I decided to venture more into first how to change the healthcare system so that it meets people when they're healthy rather than when they're sick. And this is why I went and I did my studies in health policy and public health. And then I wanted to find a true cure for most chronic diseases. And this is what took me off the meds, if you want, in the sick care system. And I got interested into, okay, what is that common denominator that we can bring in a product format that can help cancer patients, cardiovascular patients, Alzheimer's patients, diabetic patients, because these are the 4 killers. And diabetes, you take a pill per day. You start with metformin, then you add another one, then another one, and in 10 years they put you on insulin. That's the journey today. The journey doesn't say, oh, after 6 months of this medication, you'll be off diabetes, you'll be cured. And diabetes is a foodborne disease, so the solution is in nutrition and lifestyle. Most cardiovascular issues are actually related to age and cardiovascular. Alzheimer's is age and lifestyle. So I started learning more and more and more because in med school, I only had 1 hour on nutrition and lifestyle, and started learning more and found out like my biggest aha moment was that most 4 killers that kill 90% of us, whether diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular, or Alzheimer's, they all are age related. So basically, number one, what we should work on is how to keep ourselves younger, and we create a difference between our biological age and our chronological age. And that became a passion of mine. It's like, wait a second, I didn't know that at age 55, chronologically, I could be 50. Biologically, I didn't know that concept, even having MD, PhDs, and 2 masters, I didn't know at all that we can create a difference between our inner age and chronological age. So that became a big passion of mine because, again, you don't get Alzheimer's at age 20, you get it when you're old. You don't get the first heart attack at age 24, you get it when you're old. So these are correlates of aging. We call them age-related diseases. And I didn't know that there's such a concept of treat aging, which means slow it down a little bit. And that became my passion. This is what brought me to L-Nutra. So number one is figuring out the aha moment was that aging is behind most of the chronic disease killing us today. The second big aha moment is like to decelerate aging, nutrition could be a major intervention because it's the only product, food is the only product that we consume every day of our life 3 to 5 times per day. So there's nothing that can send a bigger signal, right, to ourselves. We just eat it and we take this product called food every day. So now I have a target, slow down aging. Nutrition is the biggest signal coming to our body every day. Put them together and go find a nutrition that can slow down or reverse aging. This is what took me all the way to this company called L-Nutra, longevity through nutrition. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk a lot about that, but that became my passion is how can you slow down aging to prevent diseases and how can you use nutrition to rejuvenate the body and potentially help with remission of the 4 biggest killers.
I love your mission and just like even your story of how you got there. You know, you started out as a doctor and you realized that that industry wasn't really providing the care that you wanted your patients to receive. And so the mission where nutrition is a major intervention, I think both Stephanie and I just fully believe that as well. So we're really excited to dive into this topic today. And I think one of the things that we really want to talk about with you is fasting. I know that's a big buzzword today, and I'm not sure if our listeners fully understand, or even if Stephanie and I fully understand, because there's so many different ways that a person can go about a fast or an intermittent fast. And I'm wondering if you can talk about this with our listeners and, you know, touch on intermittent fasting and the difference between a 12-hour fast or a 16-hour fast or a 3-day water fast. And you know, what that all means and how the different amounts of time can benefit somebody or not.
And what brought me to L-Nutra, why I loved this setting is because they unlocked fast. They basically, you can eat healthy to prevent, but I was like, how come food could be medicine? And this company had figured out how to, through mimicking the fasting benefits, how to actually push a lot of conditions towards remission. And this is what I'm going to describe now with different types of fasting. So I get this question all the time. We've been studying fasting for over 20 years. And a lot of the fasting science comes from our founder, Professor Walter Longo, who wrote the book, The Longevity Diet. Many of your followers probably would know about Walter. He's the head of the Longevity Institute at University of Southern California. Nominated by Time Magazine, top 50 most influential people in health. And he's known for this longevity diet book, which now is, and there's a lot of evidence showing that if you follow that diet, which is a combination of fasting, intermittent fasting, and fasting mimicking diet, and eating healthy in between, this mimics the lifestyle of the centenarians, people living 100 and beyond. And he tested those programs on mice and showed that he can keep them healthier longer. And now in humans, we have 32 clinical trials, 32 human trials on different health conditions with this intervention. So it's a big concept today. But what led us to study fasting and see the benefits is fasting is a very special intervention to the body. If you want to look at the macro level, there's 2 types of fasting. There's intermittent fasting, which is any period of hours that is less than 2 days. So 0 hour to 2 days, we call it intermittent fasting. After 2 days of fast, we call it periodic or prolonged fasting. And why the 2 days cutoff? Again, in biology, it's not like there's a switch and in 48 hours something different happened, but that's the average, taken, on people, general people, whereby the first 2 days when you're fasting, we call it the metabolic response. The body says, okay, I'm in deficit of calories. Let me pull in my savings and let me compensate for that. So the first 2 days are a metabolic response to fast. And I always talk about, it's like a company when a company doesn't have revenues, right? You go to the bank and you have your checking accounts. You can quickly, get money out of it. That's your glycogen in the body. In a few hours, the body starts tapping into glycogen. And then you have a savings account, and that's fat. And this is when the body starts burning fat into ketones. And we start seeing after 15 to 17 hours, when you measure in your blood, you start seeing some ketones. And then you can ask your bank for a loan or a credit, and that's the liver with the glucogenesis, the liver can dump also a little bit of calories, extra calories in the blood. So the first 2 days, the body says, let me tap into my checking, savings, and credit in here to compensate for lack of calories. Now, at day two finishes, day three is coming in and saying, again, I'm depleting my bank account, and it's a second level of crisis. So the body goes to the cells and say, hey, there's no food coming from outside. I'm depleting my reserves. It's time for you to rejuvenate. It's time for you to use your intracellular calories. Go use the debris, the organelles, try to fix everything going wrong, because you have to be at your optimal performance for all of us as a unit, as a body, to survive. So that's the periodic part. When you cross day two, the body's engaging the cells. And that's the cellular response to fasting. So metabolic response the first 2 days, and then cellular response after that. And we call that autophagy, or self-eat. The body tells the cells, hey, cannot nourish you from outside. You got to rejuvenate and eat the inside. And autophagy won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2016. So it's a big phenomena that is now, at the core of the science of cellular rejuvenation. Because if you lose a lot of fat and your cells are rejuvenating, that's the best prescription for anti-aging or for slowing down your aging process. I'm losing weight and I'm improving all the metabolic downstream, my blood pressure, my blood cholesterol, right? Everything downstream that 73% of us in America suffer from, when the metabolic markers. At the same time, you're rejuvenating your cells, so your biological clock is decelerating, or to a certain extent, sometimes a little bit going backwards. And this is why fasting versus any other typical weight loss is considered a longevity intervention, not just a weight loss intervention. Now, I'm going to open a bracket in here, because there's a third big benefits to this periodic fasting, which is when the cells start rejuvenating, we see the muscle actually rejuvenating at the same time. So when you diet on any other diet, typically you lose muscle. This is why people prefer protein diets and they exercise with it to maintain muscle. But fasting actually naturally protects the muscle. The deficit is big. The body says, okay, I'm going to burn fat, turn it into ketone to fuel the brain. The brain loves ketones so that we stay up and we don't faint. It was a natural response to human evolution, right? We're walking in nature, there's no food. The body says, okay, let me sacrifice fat to feed the brain and keep you up to search for food. And I don't want to sacrifice muscle, because I need to keep walking and I need to find the next tree or the next vegetable or the next animal. And we see the body investing into the muscle and rejuvenating the muscle. And it's very important, because you come out of this few days of fast, you don't come out of it like feeling weak, feeling that your metabolic rate is down. Most people who fast, they tell you, I'm actually at my best. I have mental clarity, I feel high energy, high performance. That's the cellular rejuvenation and the boost there. And that's critical for periodic fasting. You don't want to go now on 10 days and 20 days and 30, because then you're going to lose muscle, because you can rejuvenate, but if there's no nutrients, you're going to deplete. So you take, if you starve a company, you don't give it revenue, the CEO will restructure it, right? The autophagy, the rejuvenation is beneficial, but if you stay long with no food, it's going to go bankrupt. So our science show that 5 days is that balance, right? You burn enough fat, you induce the cellular rejuvenation, but you did not deplete the body. And for longevity, these 5 days done 3 times a year are showing a lot of, healthy aging and longevity benefits. And people say, well, 5 days of water fast, that's not an easy thing to do. And this is why we exist as a company. We're founded by University of Southern California, the Longevity Institute, and the National Institute of Health, saying, wow, it's fascinating what 5 days could do. Let us give you money to create a nutrition program that can nourish the body, but gives the cells the signal of fasting. Can we mimic fasting benefits on the cells with food? And this is how we were born as a company. We're a fasting mimicking nutrition company. How can I help you comply with fast, get some nutrition, but at the same time, the cell's not recognizing that and getting the benefits of fasting?
Wow. Because I know I'm thinking of our listeners right now, even myself, thinking, gosh, doing more than a 2-day fast. Marty and I talk about this 2-day fast that we do with our liver detox. This is a 3, 4, 5-day fast. And the thought of not having food is really daunting for people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in a society where we can get food 24/7 for most of us,
Yes.
the thought of going without, even for cell rejuvenation and longevity, seems a bit extreme.
Yeah.
So how is it that by eating certain foods, and we want to dive into this too, this fasting mimicking diet
Yes.
plan that your company has? Maybe tell us a little bit more about that. Because sometimes,
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to podcasts and people are like, you can't have anything. Like you can
Yes.
have a little bit of black coffee, but any cream is going to break your fast. And this is okay, but that product is going to break your fast. And there's so many schools of thought on this topic, I guess.
Well, you described it well. It's schools of thoughts. We do schools of science over here. We have 18 universities now, Stanford and USC and UCLA and Milan and Heidelberg and Berlin. We gathered 18 universities, and we've been studying that with them, the fasting mimicking nutrition. To give you an idea, it's tens of millions of dollars in research. And the goal was, how much we take every macronutrients, proteins, carbs, amino acids, supplements, micronutrients, and we study how much you can give to a cell before the cell says, well, I'm satisfied, right? And we uncovered, our founder, Professor Longa in USC, they were researching what we call the nutrient sensing pathways, meaning a cell senses nutrients that has radars, if you want to think about radars for food. They're called the pKa pathway, the RAS pathway, and the TOR pathways. And whenever the cell senses carbs or senses proteins, it says, okay, I'm getting food. I should be satisfied. I'm not fasting. But the sensors have triggers. So if you go below the trigger, then the cell still thinks it's starving. I'll give you an example. So we talked about the example of a company with no revenue as an analogy for the body with no food. So imagine you run a company and you need $1 million per month to operate it, right? So imagine if I come and say, you know what, I'm going to give you $400,000 instead of $1 million, and you can use $200,000 to pay for HR to pay your staff only because you don't want to lose your best and brightest, and $200,000 to order your supplies so that next month, your sales don't drop. And so you can see how, yes, you give me some money, but you earmarked it to 2 departments. My sales department is hungry. My marketing department is hungry. My ops team is hungry. So I'm going to go and restructure those because they're in depletion. I cannot spend money left and right there. I have to be very cost effective, etc. And this is what we've done with food. We earmark them to certain pathways, and we give the right amount of calories and nutrients that we studied over 20 years so that it doesn't trigger the major sensing pathways and it doesn't get to that trigger point where the cell is fully satisfied. And this is how we get the mimicking effect of fasting while we're feeding the body.
Well, in the end, the reality is for a lot of people, we're overfed and undernourished. So to your point of just feeding the cells what they need without giving it too much and too much of the wrong foods. I mean, in general, we are probably eating too much, right? Going back to how we traditionally ate, back in the pre-ancestor days.
We are eating too much, but in our case, we're not only just giving just what you need, because just what you need, the cell knows there's food. We're going different than just what we need. We're giving the cell an environment that there's no food, so that the cells rejuvenate. What you just said is, let's give the cell what it needs. I agree with, but on a daily basis. Our 5 days program is actually putting the fasting pressure on the cell so that the cell regenerates and so that you biologically you have a healthy aging trigger process.
Can I clarify a few things for our listeners? Just because there was a lot of information that's being thrown at everybody. So you said that it's good to do a 5-day fast 3 times a year. Did I understand that right?
With our nutrition, because we make it, when you're eating a clean, healthy plant-based nutritional intervention, it takes the side effects of fasting down. Meaning, some people should not do 5 days water fast because they have hypoglycemia, they're frail. So what we do, and why the National Institute of Health ask us to develop the fasting mimicking nutrition and University of Southern California, we actually come with a spin-off from the university, is how to de-risk fasting. How can you de-risk How can you feed the body, give it the macros and the micros, and let people do fasting without a headache, without the hunger, without the, while keeping the benefits? So yes, if you do our fasting mimic nutrition, and I'm not pushing for it from a marketing perspective, but this is what we studied. We never studied in humans 5 water days of fasting. Once we discover that we can give you the similar benefits with food, it almost becomes unethical to starve you for that. So all the IRB, if you're familiar with how universities do studies, they have an ethical board, and the ethical board always asks us to do it with food so that we help people get the benefits of fasting in a safe way.
So knowing that your recommendation with food, with the, mimicking bars or whatever, is 3 times a year, do you believe that someone could get benefits just doing it 1 time a year? Or is there something significant about the 3 times a year? And when you do it 1 time, I'm assuming you still get that cellular turnover, right?
Yes. So we've studied ones, we studied 3, we studied 4, we studied now 12 as well. And I'll give you a little bit the differences. And the product is called Prolon, so that people, kind of a little bit visualize. It's called Prolon for promoting longevity. And so you buy Prolon and you get delivered a box of food, and it has your 5 days of food and drinks and supplement. You don't need to cook. You don't need to do anything else. It's all in. And you should not do anything else, because then the body recognizes the food. So the goal is to stick to the formulation that we studied scientifically to give you the benefits. Now, if you do 1 cycle, you rejuvenated your cells 1 time. And then obviously you're going to lose some weight, so you're going to see some metabolic benefits. And our studies are showing that the benefits would last 3 to 4 months after that. So, and they last long. That's long enough. I mean, if you do any diet, and the day you stop, after a few days you gain back, because it's mostly a weight-related impact. In our case, there's weight, but there's cellular. So we see that 40 to 60% of the effects will stay 3 months after, 3 to 4 months after. And this is why we're saying do it 3 times a year. So you do it, you carry the benefits for 3 to 4 months, you do it then after, and then you do it after. And you don't have to do it all the time. Same thing, if you watch a Formula One car race or any car race, when the driver is going fast, the engine is heating and the wheels are being worn out, and then you take a pit stop. The pit stop, the mechanics come, they check everything, they change everything, and you only need to do it twice in the race or 3 times max. That's the same concept. Every day we're eating, unhealthy food. There's toxins, the environment, the cells are, storing fat. They're getting some toxins, and the gut is, becoming a little bit more leaky and all of that. And you come with Prolon and you're trying to detox the body from the chemicals. You're trying to rejuvenate your cells, and you're trying to shed off the extra fat that you carried.
So one more question about that then. Let's say I want to try 5-day Prolon 5-day fast.
Yes.
Never done anything like it. I've done the detox that Stephanie and I do. Like she mentioned earlier, after 2 days of fasting with shakes, I'm like so ready for food. And I'm just wondering, like, how does a person feel while they're doing this 5-day fast? Like a typical person, not someone that's used to doing this kind of thing, I guess.
That's the beauty. You're not doing 5 days of fast. You're doing 5 days of food. It's our food, and you're getting the benefits of fasting. So we don't sell fasting, we sell food. And then it gives you the same benefits. So that's the entire beauty, is to decrease the impact that you mentioned, which is so difficult for people to do a water fast. And for some, it's unhealthy. For most, it's very difficult. And for some, it's unhealthy. And so the NIH gave us tens of millions of dollars into our research so that we go and develop a food that people can eat. So it's the first day, just to give you an example, the 5 days of food, the first day is 1,100 calories. And then day 2, 3, 4, 5 are 800 calories. So it's not mimicking fasting by starvation, by like 100 calorie or a lettuce or 2 tomatoes or whatever. It's a good input of calories to your body. And this is why it took us years and years, and a lot of R&D is, we don't want to mimic fast by depletion. You just drink this juice and we mimic fast by nourishment. And that was the technology.
So can you tell us a little bit about, from even a macro standpoint, what's in these products? that
So,
allows this to happen, this cell
yeah,
rejuvenation to happen by still feeding the body a little bit of food.
yeah. And I won't go into a lot of details because a lot of those are patent. We have over 240 patents, but I'll give you the macro structure of it.
Yes.
We studied the sequence of amino acid within proteins. So the proteins have sequences of amino acids, right? And some sequence will spike the body response to food, what we call the IGF. When you eat proteins, IGF increase, insulin-like growth factor. So if you eat a piece of steak, that it spikes IGF high. So, and it spikes the TOR pathway, which is the cellular sensing pathway for proteins. Now, if you eat fish, it spikes less. If you eat plant-based, it spikes even less. What we have spent a lot of time is within the plant-based sources of proteins, what are the sequences of amino acid that even spike less? The body responds to it and triggers less the receptors on the cells. Same thing with carbs. What complex carbs and which time of the day we study insulin, because insulin in the morning and cortisol in the morning is different than afternoon, is different than at night. So the cycles of the insulins in the body and the absorption of carbs and complex carbs. And if you match complex carb with other nutrients, you can even slow even further the absorption and the breakdown. And all this not to spike insulin, because insulin tells the body there's food, and not to over trigger PK and the RAS pathway. The same with fats. We focus a lot on healthy fats. As people know, the brain is a fat organ, and fat is not all fat are bad. So focus a lot on healthy fats that are similar to mid-chain fatty acids, so that we also, bring those to the body and support the cardiovascular system and the mimicking effect.
Okay, so all the, the patents that you have, and then the formulation of all these products, I know there's some soups and there's bars, and so it's all plant-based. Is that?
It's all plant-based. And so a typical day would start with a bar in the morning. It's called the L bar. And then you do at lunch your soups, and there's some olives and some crackers. You have a snack, actually a cocoa-based snack in the afternoon. And at night, you have your other soup and a snack next to it. And you have a drink throughout the day to keep you not just hydrated, but give you a basal level of energy. And then you have teas, just you can drink them for pure hydration as many times as you want. And you have supplements for the micronutrients, alga oil, and the multivitamin as well. So we can.
What was the first one you said before the multivitamin?
The alga oil, the DHA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're all plant-based. Everything is plant-based.
And I'm assuming it's free of allergens and heavy metals and.
Heavy metals, yes. Allergens, it's food. So if you have allergy to one of the ingredients, you have allergy to one of the ingredients, but there's no super allergens or.
Like gluten or.
Yeah, it's gluten-free. Yes, for sure. Gluten-free, non-GMO.
Is it dairy-free?
Dairy-free.
Okay.
It's 100% plant-based. The only ingredient that there's always discussion about, depending if you're fully orthodox vegan or not, is honey. We have just honey in one of the bars. Otherwise, everything else is 100% plant-based.
And what about the soups? Can you tell us a little more about that? What kind of soup is it?
Again, the macronutrients are exactly what I mentioned, the sequence of amino acid to not trigger the sensors, and carbs and fats. And then we flavor them. So you have a flavor, you have tomato flavor, you have lentil curry flavor, you have ginger carrot flavors. We have 14 different flavors, actually. We have 3 versions of the box. So you can do Prolon 1 or Prolon 2, or now we just launched Generation 3. We hired a Michelin star chef actually to work on Generation 3, and we're getting a big success with Prolon Gen 3. People loving the taste, having great experience, and then getting the benefits at the end.
Yeah. What would you say is like from your customers that have done this, can you think of a person or a story where they were just blown away by the effect that they've had from doing this program?
Well, I actually can tell right away if a person has cheated or completed or not, because it's so experiential. You right away, if somebody that's Prolon and you're talking to them, you're going to hear big cheer. It's transformational when we're talking about they're going to lose weight so fast. By the way, we've done a randomized clinical trial on skin, and skin gets rejuvenated. So we have better glowness, we have better hydration in the skin, and we just filed the article to be published in the top dermatology journal. So it's very experiential. I'll tell you the 4 things that most people report when they complete Prolon. Number 1, they talk about the sense of achievement, the sense of change, the sense, we all started diets and we all stopped dieting at some point, and we feel we get this learned helplessness syndrome where I go like a yo-yo. I gain weight, I lose the weight, then I go back. And the beauty with Prolon, it's short enough we have 91% completion rate on it. So it's 5 days. There's a day 1, there's a day 5. It's not easy to be done the first time. Some people, they don't have what we call metabolic flexibility. It's like going to the gym for the first time, right? When you go to the gym after a period, you feel like the pain after. So the first box, sometimes it's difficult for some. And then on the second and third box, the body trained to rejuvenate the cells and to switch from carbs to ketones. So it becomes much easier. But in general, it's short enough for people to do it. It's just 5 days, and it's long enough to induce the benefit. It is 5 days. And so that sense of empowerment, achievement is there. Number 2, everyone loves the weight loss. You lose a lot of fat, but actually you maintain muscle. So that combination of I lost a lot of weight, but I don't feel weak. I actually feel strong. And the performance that comes with it is the number 2 biggest benefit they talk about. Number 3 is the emotional experience. I have mental clarity. I feel on an upbeat. And a lot of us today, especially, the moms and the dads, and we get to 40 and 50 and we feel like our body is slowing down. I'm sensing aging, but I cannot process it, right? And I still remember like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I used to perform better. I used to multitask better. That sense comes back. I feel like, wow, I'm back on high energy, on a positive mood, and I can perform better. That's actually one of the most benefit I will always hear. And this is why I told you, like, I know exactly who did Prolon. And even if they say I did Prolon, I know exactly if they're not upbeat, I say, hey, did you cheat a little bit? Or did you say, yeah, I stopped at day 4, or I cheated at day 3, or something like that. And then number 5 is this changing of relationship with food. A lot of us, we don't feel like we can last, on a smaller portion of a smaller plate, a smaller lunch or a smaller dinner. We think we need meat every day in our life. We think, if I don't get a small snack at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. before I sleep. Like, a lot of us are addicted either to portions of food or to certain kind of food or certain timing of the day to eat food. And a lot of people say, I felt de-addicted. If I can do a plant-based diet for 5 days, I don't feel I want to go back and jump on a pizza or on a burger it's just the palates change, the microbiome change. And they feel like I changed my relationship with food. I know I can do better. And it's inspirational in that sense. So because it's 5 days, anyone can do it at any time. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go on now, I'm going to subscribe to this ever going diet, and I don't know when I'm going to fail one day. It's actually, they talk about success with Prolon and a change in relationship and inspiration to have a better lifestyle after it.
We see a lot of those same things when working with our clients. So I completely see what you're saying. Can we, there's a couple of things we want to touch on before we start to run out of time. So you do the fast for 5 days, but can we talk about just like intermittent fasting, which would be a shorter fast, and how that plays into the 5 day? Yeah. And then also so what's next? You do a 5 day. And even if you just commit to doing it 3 times a year, you don't want to fall off the wagon in between and start eating crap again. You want to still nourish your body with whole foods, healthy foods. Maybe it's a combo plant / some, high quality animal meat and fish. So if you can touch on those 2 things, maybe starting with just the intermittent fasting and what are the benefits of that and what does it look like?
Yeah, we jumped right away to the periodic fasting because it's fascinating to hear about rejuvenating the cells and a Nobel Prize on it and autophagy, etc. But intermittent fasting is also very valuable. So fasting to refresh our memories, it's just fasting for less than 2 days. And it starts with what we call circadian fasting. Circadian fasting is just 12 hours of fast, meaning I follow the day and night cycles, right? And circadian fasting, we believe, is one of the biggest secrets centenarians actually have. A lot of people, when we travel around the world and we talk to people living 100 and beyond. We follow nutritionally many of them, actually, trying to find what are those patterns that we should bring to humanity so that we also live healthy long. And one of the consistent pattern is that they don't snack late at night. They don't eat at 10, 11. They don't watch the Netflix. They don't, they actually have a 7 p.m., right? 6, 7, 8 p.m. When the sun is down, they're used traditionally in their villages to go and eat, at that time. And then they go to sleep after that, or they walk a little bit, and after 2-3 hours, by 9 or 10 p.m., they're sleeping, but they're not snacking before sleeping. And I think this changed for us in the last 30 years. We were watching Netflix, we're watching TV, we're working late at night, and it gives us that urge to jump and snack on something. And it seems that this is a big spoiler for longevity, because when you eat late at night, what happens? The carbs are spiking. And so the nighttime is an anabolic, not a catabolic time, right? What you eat in the morning, you burn it throughout the day. You're running, you're talking, you're thinking, you're working, you're doing whatever. Whatever you eat during the day, the body is taking it to burn it. Whatever you eat at night, the body is taking it to store it. And when you eat carb at night, insulin spikes. That's an anabolic pro-aging factor. When you eat the proteins at night, you're spiking IGF, insulin-like growth factor. It's another anabolic pro-aging process. So you're storing fat at night and you're kicking your biological aging further. And this is what day and night, for the period of their lives, the centenarians do not get this extra kick at night versus us today that we're getting it. And so that's big. We're very big from a longevity perspective on circadian fasting. Try to spend 12 hours overnight and allow your body to sleep. When you eat late as well and you're sleeping, the GI system, the gastrointestinal system is digesting. So, and this is why people eating late, they have more, nightmares, and they wake up at night and reflux. So let your body sleep. It's not just your brain that needs to rejuvenate. It's every cell of the body needs to rejuvenate rather than be an anabolic pro-aging part. No. So now you say, hey, I carry a little bit of weight. Can I extend the fast for 16 hours or 18 hours? And that's the big buzz behind intermittent fasting. A lot of people wanting to lose a little bit of extra weight, and they're skipping breakfast to do intermittent fasting. Now that alone requires another podcast, because there's healthy intermittent fasting for 16 hours and there's less healthy. This is why when you look at the data, a lot of it is positive, a lot of it is mixed, right? And I'll summarize the conclusion here to and I promise we're going to change people's life today. If you want to do your 16 hours or your 12 hours or 14 or whatever, try to start early the day before. Don't stay up, eat late, and then push your body till a 4 p.m. lunch next day. Because what you have done, you boosted your anabolic pro-aging during the night and you stored fat. The next day, when your brain is most active, is when you go to work. When your body needs the calories because you're walking, you're starving your essential organs for long enough till 4 p.m. This is why you get the headache. The headache is what? Is the brain screaming, I've been working since 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. and I have no food. So you're basically storing more fat at night and sacrificing your essential organs during the day. And that's not the right way to fast. This is why a lot of intermittent fasting articles, when you read them, they don't show you a lot of benefit. They don't show you a lot of weight loss, because whatever you're losing during the day, you're just stocking it during the night. And the proper way to lose the weight and be pro-longevity intermittent fasting is to eat early at night and start front load your intermittent fasting the night before, rather than delay your lunch the next day and starving your body and essential organs who are at peak performance during the day.
Yeah, that makes so much sense too, even from a sleep standpoint. Like everyone says, and don't eat anything 2+ hours before you go to bed, because you have a hard time. Your body's digesting the food, and that impacts the quality of your sleep, in addition to everything else that you just shared.
Yeah.
That was super fascinating, and linking it back to the centenarians and probably the blue zones, right?
100%.
I was just going to say, to clarify, so if you're done with dinner at 7 p.m. and you stop at dinner, then, fast forwarding 12 hours, 7 a.m., 14 hours, 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Maybe you've barely started your day.
Exactly.
You've already done a 14-hour fast.
And then you eat
maybe
to fuel.
Push it to the 16-hour, maybe not. That's where I struggle. For me, I've played in my own body, And 14 hours, no problem. When I get to the 16 hours, I start to feel the brain saying like, give
Of
me
course.
food. Like
Of course, the idea that I'm suggesting here is you're a winner on all fronts. So 7 p.m. you eat. The next day, you eat even at 9 a.m. You fed your brain. So you did your 14 hours of fast. You did not overshoot your anabolic pro-aging, pro-fat storing during the night. Your body already spent 14 hours burning what you ate. And then you eat at 9. Or if you want at 11, if you want to extend it to lose weight. But naturally, if you're a healthy, BMI, you're doing it for longevity, not for weight loss, you can eat at 7 or 8 or 9. And you give your brain something in the morning, and your heart and your kidneys, which are at peak, and your muscle. And in the morning all the way to afternoon is where our essential organs are at peak performance. They want to be nourished. But you go to the gym, you want to go to the gym being nourished, not being starved. And you're a winner across all. This is why the centenarians, they don't skip breakfast. Ask people who live 100 beyond how many times you skip breakfast. They say, I love my breakfast, right? But they're doing fasting. They're doing the circadian fasting because they ate early. So we're doing it wrong today. We're just eating late at night, and we're pushing it all the way to 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. We come back from work and we binge eat because we're like so hungry with the huge headache. Yes. And we just starve long and then binge eat at the wrong time. And guess what? The body says, thank you for eating a lot at night. I'm going to store all of it. Good luck tomorrow starving again to try to burn some of it.
Right. And then you wonder, like, you're doing technically a fast. Oh, I barely ate anything all day. I love those people that are like, come to dinner, come go to a party. And then they literally eat for like 4 hours. They're eating crap. Yeah. They're not sitting down and eating a meal, and they're eating till 10 o'clock at night or later. Yeah. But I have a question for you on your fasting mimicking bar, which Marnie and I both tried. I thought it was delicious. Yeah. How does that play in on a normal day when you're maybe just doing 12 to 14 hours of a fast and you're not on the 5-day prolonged?
So the fast bar fill in the problem. It's a solution to the problem that Marnie just spoke about. She said, look, I do my 7 p.m. and I struggle the next day. I want to go longer. And I'm telling her, don't starve your body. And this is why we came up with the fast bar and the fasting shake. So at 7 or 8 or 9 p.m., Marnie, take the fast bar or take the fasting shake. What happens with those is that you nourish already your body. So your brain is getting the calories it needs, and the heart and the kidney. So you got your breakfast. But from a fat standpoint, you're not breaking your fast because we mimic fasting. So you continue burning fat. The fast bar and fasting shake are such a breakthrough. And we've done clinical trials on them, and we published them in a top nutrition journal called Nutrients. You keep your body burning fat while you're feeding your essential organs. And that's the idea there. Is like, hey, I'm going to do a 16 hours. I'm going to get my fast bar in the morning after 12 hours of fast. I nourish my body, and I keep my body in a burning mode because it didn't recognize the food, and I stay in a catabolic mode.
That to me is fascinating. So the other day, I kind of did just that. It was probably like around the 12-hour mark. I had a bar. I don't know whatever time it was. And then I went like another 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
In this bar, people, it's under 200 calories. It's not like you're eating this like huge mammoth thing of food. I had that in my tea. And then, so I guess technically I probably went 16 hours, which I don't normally do. But I didn't feel hungry. I felt fresh. I felt sharp. Like
we've done trials with the bar and coffee in the morning, and Starbucks coffee, and it still keeps you in fasting. We've done the studies with the bar and tea, and we've done studies with the fast bar late at night as a snack, because many people say, look, I'm an executive, or I'm a mom, and I put the kids to bed, and then I barely find 4 hours for myself. I watch TV or I catch up on work, and I feel hungry at 9. If you're hungry at 9 and 10, get your fast bar, because your body won't recognize that overshoot of a snack and stays in a fasting mode to the next day. And we've tested that as well.
So I have 2 questions about the bar. The first one is, what if a person is using the bar as an afternoon snack? Is there any benefit to that at all? If they've eaten a lunch, they're planning on eating a dinner, and they're eating it as a snack? That's my first question. My second question is, I noticed that there were, I think it was 4 grams of protein in the bar. Comparatively speaking to other bars on the market, there's not a lot of protein. And can you tell us about that?
Yeah. To answer the first one, if you take it as a snack in between 2 meals, the value of the fast bar becomes it's a better snack than any other snack that will add calories and another spike to the body. So you ate lunch, insulin spiked, insulin-like growth factor spike, you push your body to age a little bit and store a little bit of fat. Now, if you're hungry in 2 hours and you're going to go for a Snicker bar or whatever dessert or whatever that, you're going to spike again your aging factors and store. So you get the bar there not to restore and respike the aging factor and restore fat. So that's the value of it. You would not be in a deep fasting because you just ate, but at least you would not be in a second wave of storing fat and getting. So that's the value of it. And actually, I use it more at night when I'm staying, late at night because it's perfect. It just puts me to sleep on a very light bar, and a lot of people, most of our consumers use it as their breakfast in the morning as well. To answer your second question about the proteins in it, if you go high on a protein, your body will recognize the meal and you would not be mimicking fasting, right? So the bar is to say, instead of getting 0 grams of protein and starving your body, this is not a bar for building muscle and you take it while you exercise too. This is a bar to say, well, instead of taking 0 grams of carbs, 0 grams of protein, 0 grams of fat, this bar is studied to give you some of each, but to the degree that the cells would not recognize and keep you in a fasting mode.
That's super helpful to understand. Yeah. And it makes sense then that the benefit of the bar is taking it on either end of your fasting window so that you're still in a fast, like you said, versus in the middle of 2 meals. It's better than the Snickers or something else, but
yes,
you're not getting the fasting benefits from it for obvious reasons.
Yeah, you avoid getting penalized with another dessert, but you're not getting the fasting benefit when you do it in between meals. Okay. And this is all around fasting. Just outside of fasting, it's one of the healthiest bars. It's clean. I mean, you guys did it and read the ingredients. The first thing you told me is like, wow, it's clean. There's no chemicals. There's no additives. It's premium macadamia-based nut. And macadamia is one of the healthiest things you can an almond you can put in your body. They're actually the most expensive things you buy from nature. They have the best combination of fats and carbs and proteins. And outside of any fast, if you're just a bar snacker, forget about fasting. You're not a fasting, you don't want to fast. It's a very healthy bar to consume during the day.
That's very helpful.
And we just launched the fasting shake. And it was especially where 83% of our consumers are women, mid-aged women. And it seems men are more bar folks and women are more shake folks. So we just launched the fasting shake. And it went like unbelievable. We have more than 1 million, just FYI, more than 1 million consumer, and the shake went like super, super fast. And same concept, instead of eating the bar, you drink your shake, just water. It's all premixed for you. You don't need to add anything to it, and you can sip out of it on it in the morning, and your body gets nourished without going off fasting.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, our listeners out there are, like you said, busy moms, executives. They have a lot of demands, whether they have kids or not. And reality is we want to all eat, home cooked meals all the time, but we don't always have the time. And so having these options and understanding how the fast can work by eating a little bit of food without eating a huge meal first thing in the morning to maintain the benefits of the cellular aging process is great.
Yeah. So I want to summarize all this because I know longevity, and we talked about prolonged fasting with Prolong. We talked about intermittent fasting and a fast bar. What should we eat to live healthy long? That's the ultimate goal, I think, of the podcast. And this is why the Longevity Diet book, I really, really recommend that folks read it. It was an Amazon bestseller book. I have a copy behind me, The Longevity Diet by Walter Longo. So what we recommend, do your circadian fasting every day, 12 hours, right? Try to eat like a centenarian. So 12 hours, you want to extend it, you can extend it front load the extension, eat earlier dinner, don't stay without food late in the day. And we believe that the best way to extend it is with the fast bar and the fast shake. I don't want to look biased, but again, plant-based, mimic fast while nourishing essential organ. This is why we exist. Do 3 times a year your Prolon to rejuvenate the cells, right? So every day intermittent fasting with or without the fast bar. Do 3 times your cellular recycling, your cellular rejuvenation for your biological age. And in between, it depends on your priorities. For pure longevity, what the studies are showing, eat a pescatarian and or flexitarian diet, meaning heavy plant-based, add fish as the main source of animal protein. Flexitarian, meaning from time to time, add red meat, but just from time to time. flaxseed is close to Mediterranean. It's just meat is used as a flavor or as a one ingredient in your stews and your dishes. We're not big proponents of being very heavy on red meats all the time because it just pushes IgE. It's a great fun in the short term to look great and build muscle, but you're over spiking your growth factors frequently, which means you're biologically aging faster, which means you're going to get closer to your first disease. And we don't want that to happen.
That's really helpful. I love just your overview, and it really goes along with how Marnie and I, our personal beliefs. Everyone's different and unique, and there's some people out there that may be doing the carnivore diet, but eating more plant-based and the fish and, the occasional red meat and other animal products. So,
and really tuning into your own body. I think that's so important because, some bodies may feel like they need more red meat and some bodies may feel like they want more fish. So really getting to know yourself and what your own needs are.
I agree to a certain extent. I'm a man of science, and if you can find a 100-year-old person who lived on meat, I'll give you whatever you want.
Well, I'm not saying to just eat meat. I'm saying some people may choose not to eat any meat.
No, I'm with you. Some people feel, what I'm saying is some people feel, and I love meat myself, but we're here to help guide them towards the truth. And I think one of my biggest mission on the planet, and I founded the Journal of Health System Reform, and I was a professor at Harvard and University of Chicago. My goal in life is to bring truth in nutrition to people, because you guys said it well, there's so much noise, there's so many theories, and theories disrespect us, because we as humans should know by 2023, we should know what to eat to live long. I mean, that's an essential question. We consume the same product every day, yet nobody wants to tell us the truth, what we should eat every day. Guess why? Because they want to sell you different products that are not ethical, that are not pro-longevity, and they just want to do business off our food. And I feel part of our mission is to give people the true scientific answers on whatever we have uncovered. There's a lot that we have not uncovered, but at least some of those realities are facts for us today that we need to spread the words. And this is why I'm with you today. And I do kind of a couple of podcasts every week to really, I feel it's part of my personal mission to kind of increase that awareness.
And I think to your point, sharing the science and just having people kind of take a step back from what they think they should be eating, meaning all the processed food and all the meat. And Marnie and I see this on our detox where people are like, wow, I ate a plant-based lunch for 7 days. I've never done that before. And I was able to feel nourished and satiated. And I learned about some plant-based sources of protein that I didn't realize even existed. So it's enlightening people and getting them to realize that there are other ways of eating, that they have to tune into their body. Like we said, I think that, I appreciate lots of different dietary theories, but you also need to be willing to experiment a little bit too, to figure out what's going to make you thrive. Yeah. And I think a lot of people can make changes to their lifestyle and their diet and then feel so much better. And, that's, like you said, why we're all here today. So,
yeah.
So as we wrap up this conversation, can you tell our listeners where people can find you, where they can buy your products, connect with you?
We're on social, on all platforms, Dr. Joseph Antoun across LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, etc. But if you want to read more as well about, this is for my story, who I am and what I did on the day to day. If you want to read more about the fast bar and the fast shake, fastbar.com, fastingshake.com. Prolon is, I think, where all this information we talked about, the science, the premise, you can go to prolonfast.com or prolonfmd.com. And if you want to read about our company, and I really, for those of you who are curious about the science and they felt we shared a lot of new ideas or controversial ideas today, and if you want to read the articles and the science behind it, go to lnutra.com, L for longevity dash Nutra, so longevity through nutrition. This is what we stand for, lnutra.com. We have a science section there. First, you can read mission and vision and how we're disrupting healthcare. And a lot of science, there's a section on science to read all the articles on how food is medicine for us today and how we achieve it.
Great. Thank you. Well, Dr. Antoun, this has been so enlightening. I know our listeners their heads are probably spinning with all the good insight that you shared. So as we wrap up this conversation, one question we love to ask all of our guests is what does the art of living well mean to you?
I think that the only thing for me that trumps nutrition to live well is happiness. The art of living well for me is be happy every day. When when we study people living 100 and beyond, actually some of them, they don't eat healthy, but what they all have in common, they feel serene, happy, they're well nested with their family or in their village. They're joking and smiling and laughing with us, even if they're frail, even if they're 105 and 110. I feel like happiness is the source of everything. When you're happy, you eat healthy, you exercise, you have the energy to exercise, you sleep well. All these are pillars of longevity. You stress less, right? And I feel happiness is the source of positivity, eating healthy, exercising, sleeping better, stressing less, giving that positive energy to people around you, and they will echo it towards you. And I think that's the art of living well.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
And Dr. Antoun, I know you have a special offer for our listeners, if you want to share what that is so that they can check out some of your products, including the fast.
Yeah, I'd love for as many to try to do the fasting nutrition. And so if you use the code LivingWell20, it will give you 20% off all our products. You can go to prolonfast.com. Prolon is our master website, and you can try the Prolon 5 days or the fasting bar and the fasting shake. Upon exit at the cart, use LivingWell20 and you'll get your 20%.
Thank you so much. We're excited to try it out.
Yes, and we'll link that up in the show notes as well. Well, thank you so much for your time today. This has been fascinating for Marnie and myself, and I know all of our listeners as well. Yes, yes.
I appreciate you very, very much, and happy to do a second round if you want to talk specifically about one of the, in depth about one of the issues we talked about today.
Absolutely. We'll have to have you back.
Okay.
All right.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.